Time. We speak of it as if it were a river flowing past us, carrying moments from an unknowable future into an irretrievable past. We check our watches, mark our calendars, count our days. But what if I told you that time, as you experience it, is not a fundamental property of the universe at all? What if time is merely a spice, a psychological seasoning that consciousness adds to the bland dish of eternity to make existence palatable, even interesting? My name is Adrian Vale. I've spent 58 years walking this earth, and in that walking, I've come to suspect something rather extraordinary, that you and I are not moving through time at all. Rather, we are creating it, moment by moment, like spiders spinning webs from their own substance. Consider this ball of yarn. Imagine it represents eternity, everything that is, was, or ever will be, existing simultaneously in a timeless now. Compact, complete, whole. There is no past hidden in its center, no future waiting at some outer edge. It simply is. But consciousness, your consciousness, my consciousness, cannot grasp eternity whole. We are finite creatures attempting to comprehend the infinite. So what do? We unravel it. We take this eternal now and stretch it into a linear sequence, before and after, cause and effect, birth and death. We create the illusion of a timeline, a narrative, a story with a beginning, middle, and end. This unwinding, this linearization of the eternal, this is time. Not a river we float upon, but a thread we pull from the fabric of existence itself. And here's the curious thing. In pulling this thread, we discover patterns we could never have seen in the compact wholeness of eternity. The yarn reveals its colors, its texture, its unique character only when stretched out before us. Time, then, is not merely an illusion, it's a revelation. It's how eternity comes to know itself. But at what cost? Let me tell you about a ghost that haunts every human being on this planet. Its name is tomorrow. This ghost whispers constantly in your ear. Not now, it says. Wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow you'll start that project. Tomorrow you'll tell them you love them. Tomorrow you'll finally live the life you're meant to live. Tomorrow is the most seductive phantom ever conjured by the human mind. But here's the metaphysical joke, the cosmic punchline that should make us all laugh and weep simultaneously. Tomorrow never comes. Think about it. Really think about it. Have you ever experienced tomorrow? Have you ever woken up and found yourself in that promised land called tomorrow? No. Every single time you open your eyes, every single moment of conscious experience you've ever had has occurred in a day called today. Tomorrow is perpetually beyond the horizon, always one day away, forever unreachable. When you were 5 years old and imagined being 10, you thought you were imagining the future. But when you arrived at 10, you didn't arrive at the future. You arrived at another present moment, another now. When you're 80 years old, looking back at this very moment, you won't be looking back at the past. You'll be remembering a present moment that once was. Past and future are grammatical conveniences, linguistic tools we use to organize our memories and intentions. But they are not places you can visit. They are not times you can inhabit. There is only ever this eternal, ever-present now. And yet, the ghost of tomorrow robs us blind. It steals the only thing we actually possess. The present moment. We sacrifice the reality of now on the altar of a future that will never arrive. We defer our lives, postpone our joy, delay our authenticity, all for the sake of a tomorrow that exists only in imagination. I've met people in Calcutta who have nothing, no possessions, no security, no promise of a comfortable tomorrow, and yet they inhabit the present moment with a richness that would shame most wealthy Westerners. I've sat with monks in Japanese monasteries who have trained for decades to do one thing: be here now. Not because the present is always pleasant, it often isn't, but because it's the only place where life actually happens. The future is a ghost, the past is a memory, the present is the only reality. And time is the story we tell ourselves to avoid the overwhelming immediacy of eternity pressing in on us from all sides. That person, that you from 10 years ago, is as much a fiction as the you who will exist 10 years from now. Both are constructs, stories, interpretations created by consciousness in its eternal now. I remember standing on a cliff in Cornwall when I was 23, watching the sun set over the Atlantic, feeling utterly alone and utterly alive. Or do I? How much of that memory is genuine recall, and how much has been embroidered by 5 decades of subsequent sunsets, subsequent moments of solitude, subsequent longings for the intensity of youth? The memory feels real, but it's a present moment creation, a painting I'm continuously repainting with the brushes of now. This is the strange architecture of human consciousness. We exist in an eternal present, but we drape that present with memories and anticipations, creating the illusion of temporal depth. We're like actors on a stage who have convinced themselves that the painted backdrop is a real landscape extending into an actual distance. And perhaps that's necessary. Perhaps consciousness cannot bear the weight of pure eternity, the crushing immediacy of existence without the cushioning narratives of past and future. Perhaps time, this spice we add to eternity, is not just for interest, but for survival, a psychological adaptation that allows finite minds to navigate infinite being. But here's what troubles me. What has troubled me through decades of wandering and wondering. In creating this temporal narrative, in stretching eternity into a timeline, what do we lose? What aspect of reality becomes invisible to us when we insist on seeing everything through the lens of before and after? Now I can hear the objections already. Adrian, you say, what about physics? What about Einstein and relativity? What about the arrow of time, entropy, the undeniable fact that eggs break but don't unbreak, that we age but don't unage? Fair questions. And here's where our exploration becomes even more interesting. Modern physics has revealed something extraordinary. At the fundamental level, the laws of physics are time-symmetric. The equations work equally well running forward or backward. If you filmed subatomic particles and played the film in reverse, you couldn't tell which direction was forward in time. The universe at its deepest level doesn't distinguish between past and future. The arrow of time, the feeling that time flows in one direction, emerges not from fundamental physics, but from thermodynamics, from the statistical behavior of large numbers of particles. Entropy increases, disorder grows, and this gives us the psychological sensation of temporal flow. But even this is debatable. Some physicists argue that entropy's arrow is itself an artifact of our perspective, our position within the universe. Einstein himself said that the distinction between past, present, and future is a stubbornly persistent illusion. He understood, through the mathematics of relativity, that time is not absolute. There is no universal now that extends across the cosmos. Simultaneity is relative to the observer. What is now for you may be past or future for someone moving at a different velocity. This suggests something profound. Time, as we experience it, is not a feature of the universe itself, but a feature of our relationship to the universe. It's perspectival, not fundamental. It's psychological, not physical. But here's where I part ways with some of my physicist friends. They often conclude that because time is relative or emergent or illusory, it's somehow less real, less important. I think precisely the opposite. The fact that time is a psychological phenomenon doesn't diminish it, it elevates it. It means that time is intimately connected to consciousness itself, to the very fact of subjective experience. Time is not something that happens to us. It's something we do, something we create through the act of being aware. You are not a passenger on time's river. You are the river itself, flowing, creating your own course through the landscape of eternity. Every moment you experience, you are unwinding the yarn of existence, revealing patterns that would otherwise remain hidden in the compact wholeness of the eternal now. You are eternity coming to know itself, one moment at a time. And this is not a diminishment of your existence, it's the revelation of your cosmic significance. So what do we do with this understanding? How do we live, knowing that time is a spice we add to eternity, that past and future are constructs, that there is only ever this eternal now? First, we stop waiting. We stop living as if real life is scheduled to begin at some future date when conditions are finally perfect. The ghost of tomorrow loses its power when you recognize it for what it is: a phantom, a postponement, a way of avoiding the intensity of now. This doesn't mean abandoning planning or foresight. It means recognizing that planning happens now, that foresight is a present moment activity. You can prepare for tomorrow while fully inhabiting today. The difference is subtle but transformative. Second, we make peace with impermanence. If there is only the eternal now, then everything that exists now, and then transforms into another now, and another. Nothing is permanent because permanence requires time, requires a later in which something persists unchanged. But in the eternal now, everything is constantly being born and dying, appearing and disappearing, like waves on an ocean. This sounds frightening, but it's actually liberating. You cannot lose what you never possessed in time. You can only experience what is right now, in this moment. And this moment, despite its impermanence, or perhaps because of it, is infinitely precious. Third, we recognize that we are not separate from eternity. We are not small, temporal creatures trapped in a vast, timeless universe. We are the universe experiencing itself temporally. We are eternity, adding the spice of time to itself, creating narrative and meaning and pattern from its own infinite substance. You are not in the universe. You are not even part of the universe. You are the universe, locally concentrated, temporarily individuated, creating time as you go. I've spent 58 years on this planet, and I've learned this. The most profound spiritual practices, the deepest philosophical insights, the most transformative psychological breakthroughs, they all point toward the same realization: be here now. Not because the present is always comfortable, but because it's the only place where you actually exist. The past is a memory occurring now. The future is an imagination occurring now. Even these words I'm speaking, by the time they reach your awareness, are already part of your eternal present, your ever unfolding now. Time is the spice that consciousness adds to eternity. And you are both the chef and the meal, both the taster and the taste. You are eternity, seasoning itself with temporality, creating the grand narrative of existence, one present moment at a time. So here's my invitation to you. Stop waiting for tomorrow. Stop mourning yesterday. Unwind the yarn of your existence with full awareness, knowing that each thread you pull reveals a pattern that has never been seen before and will never be seen again. Your life is not a rehearsal for some future performance. This is it. This eternal now is all there is, and it is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything. The universe is not happening to you. You are happening to the universe, and in this very moment, eternity is tasting itself through your consciousness, adding the spice of time to its infinite presence. Make it a good spice. Make it interesting. Make it worth the unwinding.